There was about 120 people registered for the session, and at the moment we've got around about 65, I think, thereabouts. So just bear with us while we let people join in. Give people one more minute and then we'll kick off, everyone. Apologies for the delay. Okay, James, Scott, you can see my slides. Awesome. Okay. Okay, well, I reckon 75 is a quorum. So again, thank you all very much for being on time. I really do appreciate it. Welcome to BERS Pro launch of version 5.24 in brackets 3.23. It's the 17th of December, and I'm delighted to say that we're getting this product out before Christmas. At our recent, well, August now, actually, when I think about it, in August when we met 80 to 90 of you, we talked about getting a product out before Christmas. And here we are. So I'm delighted, and a big kudos to the product team at Energy Inspection, so Scott and James, and also Dave, who runs sort of UAT QA processes, and also for our customers who got involved this time around as well and gave us some great feedback on the stability of the product and what needed to change before we submit it to Natters. So you're always in the lap of the gods a little bit there, I think, from prior experience. You will probably all have heard about this, but they executed really quickly for us, which was great as well. And so here we are with about 7 days or so before Christmas. Can you believe that? We're already at Christmas, releasing a product. So very, very happy to be in that situation. So really quickly today, what we are all about is just welcoming you. So Merry Christmas or Happy Festive Season to everyone. A little gift from us before you head off on holidays. A little bit on the product strategy from James, and then Scott will take us through key features and benefits of the product of 5.2.4, what problems we solved along the way. And then there'll be plenty of time for a Q&A session. I remember the last time we released the product to you, there was about 45 minutes to an hour of Q&A. So we are going to try and make sure that we fit everything in 30 minutes. There's probably 30 minutes of content and then 30 minutes of Q&A. So please feel free to ask your questions whenever you choose in the chat. And I'll probably act as the moderator between James and Scott for most of those questions, I'm sure, but please put them in there at any time, and then we'll just final closing remarks before we go. So with that, I might just first of all get the team to introduce themselves to you. This may be the first time you've spoken to James or seen James. Many of you will know Scott, but not everyone. So James, let me just pass across to you so you can introduce yourself to everyone.
Thanks, Neil. Yeah, obviously my name's James Cross. I am the product manager for BERS Pro, recently taken over where Debbie left off. I've been in the industry, well over 10 years in various roles through, I've done some work with ABSA and BDAA and also some work with industry bodies in WA as well. So I guess I've got a foot in both camps as an assessor and now kind of getting the software up and running. So I like to think that gives me a bit of an advantage having an inside running into the industry. And my role is essentially just to carry on the good work that was done previously and get BERS back up to the top of the tree.
Thank you, James. Scott?
Yeah, okay. So most of you'll know me from previous presentations or the roadshow we did a while back. I'm head of product engineering, software development, and the one responsible for, well, about half of what you're seeing today, and in the future, everything.
Wow, that sounds like a big wrap. Thank you very much, Scott. And so I'm Neil. I've been around now for about a month or so. I did have a stint here, as I sort of mentioned before, with the roadshow and engaging with the team and you as clients and customers, sort of back in the May through August timeframe. I really am quite energized by this industry and what we are able to do with software and where this can go. And so I accepted the Software Combine's offer of coming on as full-time CEO in November. And I just feel there is so much here that we can bring to the table, notwithstanding all of the work that was sort of done before, ably led by Debbie and Scott and the team before. Trish and people at BERS Pro have been around for some time. And the team are really gelling and coming together. This experience of getting 5.2.4 out the door was a really good one, probably our most rigorous yet. I sort of won't steal some of James's thunder here, but I'm delighted to be where we are today. And I'm really looking forward to next year with the sort of things that we've got in the roadmap and where we can take this product and work with everyone here. Your feedback, by the way, has been really good on how we're operating as a business and how this product is delivering value and where the bugs and issues are. Having this NPS methodology in place now has really started to get some insights for us that only you as assessors and people in the industry can really guide an organization like us to do. And I really value that. Every time someone reaches out to me and says, Neil, you've got to fix this, or this doesn't work, or well done here, it's a gift. And I treat it as a gift, and I really do welcome any bit of feedback. I'm very happy to sit down with any of you in terms of the business and how we can support you going forward in an even better way. And I know the team are as well. We talk about this feedback every single Monday. Trish on our team sort of runs a dashboard on NPS and gives us insights as to what is going well, what isn't going so well, and what we need to do. And that voice of the customer is something that I have been anchored to for all of my professional career from Microsoft and AWS and beyond, because bringing the voice of the customer into those client voices into internal conversations within the business. I typically feel like you can't go wrong when you've got a strong voice of customer leading us in terms of product development, what the business needs to do to change. And there are a number of you, and you know who you are, who are just really super vocal. I'd encourage all of you to be super vocal, because I do think it has an impact on what we focus on and what we maybe not focus so much on. We now run a customer advisory council. I won't labor the point here and stuff, but it's been excellent so far in also getting face-to-face and one-on-one feedback in that group as to what we need to do differently. So please keep that coming. as much as you possibly can. And if you want to reach out to me, please do that, and I'll come and have a coffee with you, and we'll talk about things specifically for your business. So just a couple of access and materials issues. So the latest version, I will send this deck out to everyone so you've got it there, but it should be relatively obvious now that you can get the latest version from the download page. If you log on to energyinspection.com.au, you will see it on the front page now with a little announcement on the latest news. Thanks, Trish, for getting that done. We also have this time around some feedback that we again got from you in our August roadshow. Very clearly was your training materials and your release videos just aren't up to scratch. And so you will see on our YouTube channel live this morning that most of the big features that we've sort of built into this product that Scott will take you through are now in little bite-sized videos, so you can consume them if you are particularly stuck around one of those. So visit our YouTube channel, the link is there. Again, last time we got together, it was quite important that you got a certificate for attending this. One non-technical CBD point is available. And so I will make sure that everyone who's here at the end of the webinar, so please do try and make the end, 11 o'clock till 12 AEST, we will send out that certificate to you. And then slides and the webinar recording will also be available on YouTube in a few days. So just a quick update there. So with that, let me head over to James so that James can just take you quickly through the details here of what the product strategy for 5.2.4 was.
Thanks, Neil. So yeah, essentially we started off with, we took a lot of user feedback around some issues in the software itself and kind of all the feedback through the roadshow. Obviously, I wasn't involved in the roadshow, but we've got all that information down. So we went over and worked out what features can we get into this release, as well as resolving bugs that are in there. So it was really about streamlining some of those enhancements that were, I guess, helping the end user with saving time or making things easier or making it more detailed. So in-house, we have a new, a more robust quality control system. We have multiple parties looking at the initial release of the software in-house, testing it, and we've got David who essentially tests the software without any knowledge of how the software works. So that's, his way of trying to break the software and following the details. And then once we've got the in-house testing done, we then send out to some parties involved with testing, third parties involved with testing, and again, we get the feedback from them, and we get all of that feedback together before the process goes to NATERS. So really, it's about making sure that the product is as foolproof as we can get it, so that when NATERS get it, it streamlines their processes to be able to turn it around quickly. And essentially, overall, what our aim is to improve the software and to put some features in there that make it easier, quicker. And, it's one of the key features of BERS Pro across the years has been how easy it is to train people up and how easy it is as a large firm to run through multiple versions of this software. So that's where we're trying to get this release up and running. And I think this has been successful so far. So yeah, hopefully everyone can enjoy this new version of the software and take on board some of the additional features we've added in just to improve usability.
Right.
Thanks, James. So Scott, can you take us through? I'll advance the slides for you, mate, so you can just talk to them. But off you go, mate.
All right. So we will discuss the bugs and stuff at the end. But first, I thought we'd just go through some of the key items that are improvements in the software. The first one, this one actually came up in the roadshow. So we're very happy to see that it's made it into this version. And that is when we brought in the BERS link, there was when we brought in BERS link, we had this system. Okay, so I guess I should back off a little bit. WordLink has a database of about 100,000 glazing products, of which about half of them are active. Additionally, prior to July this year, we weren't using the WERS database. And so what we had is we had some sort of cut down version of that, which we call the NatHERS database. Our first task was to move people, if they were using defaults, they could still use defaults, and we can still use defaults today. But we can't use those defaults we can't use the actual glazing moving forward unless it's WERS. And so what we needed was a way to migrate from non-WERS to WERS, and I was talking about that half of the WERS database is inactive or not available. There are going to be glazing products that go out of activity all the time, and when that happens, we need a way to transition you smoothly from a product that your clients can't buy into products that they can. So we put that into our first release of 5.2. The feedback we got from our meeting was we want to do that without having to be prompted. In other words, we want to do that without a product going out of scope or out of ability to purchase. We want it to be to just take all the windows of a certain type and swap them out with another one throughout the entire project. And so we did that. We've got a very similar screen to what you have when you do that replacement, but now you can do it at will. You just go into the, if we can move forward, Neil. All right, so here we go. You can see the additional features page. You click on the glazing button and up comes your resolve glazing button. And on here, you can just do this at will, where you just change one or more of the glazing for another one. If it's blank, it'll ignore it. So if the replacement is blank, it'll ignore it. If it's got the same ones it had previously, it'll ignore it. But any changes you make, they will be implemented across your entire project. If we can move forward again, Neil. All right. Some other things, we got more feedback about the WERS downloads. It would cycle through that progress bar a number of times. Basically, it would do 1,000 different updates or different record updates when you did the that weekly update. But if there was more than 1,000, it would spin through the 1,000. You think, oh, I'm almost done, and then all of a sudden it's starting again. We've changed that, so now you'll know right from the get-go how long it's going to take to finish, so that if it's a really fast update, you'll see it get to the end, and then you'll know it's done as soon as that progress bar hits the end. If it's going to take a while because there's a large update, then you can sort of judge as it moves forward and then go get yourself a cuppa or something. The next one we decided to hit was a little bit of productivity. So yeah, the first item there was productivity. The third item here was glazing is another productivity gain. In 5.2.3, we allowed allowed the filtering system to identify when you'd made a filter on some of the manufacturers, and it persisted that so that you close the window, open it back up again. We've done the same for 3 other filtering criteria, which is the frame, style, and glazing type. Now, when you leave the screen, all 3 of those selections will be there when you return to make another change, perhaps in some other, when you're adding another window. So just one or two things to make your life easier. One thing to bear in mind, clear story windows are not windows. They have different memories. That both of them will remember what you did last time, but they will be independent of one another. And the other thing to note is that this is purely in one session of BERS Pro. As soon as you shut down the product, open it up again, it's making no assumptions about the filters that you were using. If we can move forward again, Neil.
And some good questions coming through already as well, Scott, by the way, but we'll leave them to the end, as we said. So keep
Sure.
putting your questions in. Carry on, mate.
All right. Now, along the same idea of changing multiple things at once, we've also got the ability to change a couple of edge bat values. So first of all is the R value. That's simply edge bats have a different R value than what you would place in the rest of your ceiling. So if you need to change that, they're probably going to change right across the board. We allow you to do that. If you click on the change edge bats, if R value is anything other than 0, then all of the edge bats will get their R value changed throughout the entire project. And if you've, and likewise with bat width, now that's a little bit more interesting because you could actually have multiple different widths within, well, the system will allow you to have multiple widths. But if you've just gone through and started putting in all of your edge bats and then you realize, oh, 580 is not what I was looking for, I actually need 430. Well, what you can do is you can just go in, change the width, click OK, and all of the edge widths will change. Now, I did that in the video. It's a little hard to show you, especially if it's a subtle change like 580 to 500. You know, that's about a, what is it, a sixth of the width is being short, or you know, it's made a little thinner by about a sixth. It's a bit hard to see on the video, but if you go in and put in another 580 edge bat right next to it, you'll notice the difference. If we move forward again, Neil. Okay, just a few little housekeeping items. There is a new construction type that is metal on timber steel stud frame. There are similar materials, but not quite the same. This one here, we've just swapped out the metal for, or from other materials. And of course, it's timber or steel. There's the checkbox still works with this one to change whether or not the stud frame is a steel or timber stud frame. Natters, when they found out that we were doing this update, they jumped on board and said, hey, we've got a number of climate zones that we want to update. So we've gone and done that. So that's now our second climate zone update since 2022 accreditation. And we also decided to add in a climate zone warning. We've had a few customers come through and say, well, look, I can't open my file. The reason for that we've found in a number of cases was that no climate zone had been saved. And when we tried to open the climate zone, it was causing errors. Really, your project doesn't really work without having a climate zone. So we now make that a requirement. You won't be able to save until you've got your location details in there. And once you're in the location details, there are a number of things that need to be in place. And the newest requirement is you need to select a climate zone. Now, previously we had that you needed to put in a postcode. That's still in place, but in situations where a postcode had multiple climate zones, it left the climate zone blank. And in those cases, you need to choose one of those climate zones before you can move on. Okay, if we can move forward now. All right, bug fixes. There's been quite a few, and I'm glad to say that these are no longer with us. We're not claiming that the product is perfect, but all of the ones that are going to be showstoppers for you, we believe that we've managed to address each one of them, including the double height voids, which we've had for probably a lot more than 5 years now. Now that was a big nut to crack, and I'll just give you a little insight into that one. You might know that I joined the team about was it 2.5, 3 years ago. just before we were starting our new NCC 2022 standard development. And so I got this software as is. This was one of the issues that was always there. When you tried to deal with double height voids, the answer was you just don't. Debbie would always tell us, okay, do double height voids last. If you need to make a change, turn off your double height voids, make changes to your design, then turn them back on again. The reason for this is that while some criteria, while some data points that make double height voids possible were being moved when a zone was added or deleted, or mainly deleted, not all of them were. It took me a little while to track them all down, and now whenever you add or delete a zone, any change to the double height voids is going to migrate along with all of those changes, so that if you modify zones after a double height void, you're not going to be penalized anymore. It's not going to start freaking out on you. Now, unfortunately, there's not a huge amount that we could do for previous files that have problems, but what we have done is allowed you to, if you have a broken file from a previous version where you've played around with the zones after creating the double height void, the best we can give you is when you jump into the stairs, you will actually see a stair there, and then you can choose to reassert the double height void criteria. And that's if something messed up in a previous version. So that's pretty robust now. There was also a few others that we've been working on, and I guess that there was one big showstopper that we added in 5.2.3, sorry. It says 5.3 there, but it's actually 5.2.3. Skylights, they were actually working, but what would happen is that as they would load into the skylight screen, it wouldn't update properly, and that would give you the false impression that your skylights were not correct. So we've worked out what problem that what was causing that lack of update, and that's now fixed in the system as well. So you don't need to panic about, I've just lost all my skylights. I think there's a few other ones that are just minor, but I won't labour the point any longer.
Scott,
Yep.
I'm going to ask you about one.
Sure.
Can you tell me how and why eaves are more stable now?
Okay, so yeah, this is another one of mine. I have to do a mea culpa on this one. At one stage when we were loading up projects, there was some projects would come in and you would end up with 6 levels, and the 6 levels is the maximum levels we can use in the software. So it's coming in and saying that every level was occupied, and then you go into each level and just find out that there was nothing there, and you would end up having to delete levels, and it was a bit of a pain. So I went, right, we're going to get rid of that. As it loads up, if it says that there are more than the number of levels that have zones in them, we're just going to get rid of it. Trouble is, some people were going in and adding their project details, saving the project without a zone, without a plan, or even eaves or anything like that in the system. And when they would reload, you would immediately have problems because it deleted every level without a zone, including the first. It didn't look like it, but there was no first zone or first level. So when you started adding zones into this non-existent first level, things started going a little bit sideways. We've now changed this so that it allows you to save the way that you want to save, and it's not going to mess up. It will preserve one level, even if there's nothing in it, and it's only going to get rid of levels so long as there's no zones, no eaves, and no plan. If any one of those exist on a level, we'll keep that level for you. So I do apologize for that issue.
Okay, anything else you want to call out specifically on this page, Scott? If not, we can sort of move forward and go to some questions, kick things off. You okay?
Sure, go ahead.
All right. So, all right, I'm going to take these questions as they came in, right? So no preferences, so we'll go through them. Marcelo is asking, can we mix manufacturer-specific WERS link windows with default products, in brackets, i.e. ALM-1-1? I guess that's for you, Scott.
Yep. Yeah. There's nothing physically preventing you from mixing any sort of windows in the system, but there is a policy that NatHERS has. You can't have both WERS defaults and BERS defaults in the same project, but you can have BERS defaults and WERS custom windows. So yes, you can mix two of them. But what you just can't have there is a set. If you go into the WERS page, you can click one of the buttons up the top. It filters for the WERS defaults. You can't mix those ones with the NatHERS defaults. They're not very happy about us trying to do that.
If we don't answer your question, by the way, Marcelo, or anyone, as we're reading out, just pop something back in the chat and we'll circle back to it. But there's a few questions here, so let's rattle through these. Ali's asking, are there any more glazing options with thicker glass, or thicker glasses, he said? For example, I usually use a 5mm grey glass, but a lot of my working plans have glasses with 10mm, 10.38mm thick grey glass. Will that be added to the new version? I guess that's a question around WERS.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't get to control that, and I don't think even WERS gets to control that. WERS is the body that does all of the testing on the windows, determines what their R values and all of those other statistics, data points for the windows are, but they're not actually the glaziers. So if there are 10mm glazing products out there, I'm not sure. You'd have to check with manufacturers, and just bear in mind that if a manufacturer does produce glass, there is a bit of a waiting time that WERS has before we see it in the software. Unfortunately, that's completely out of our hands. We don't get to control the glaziers, and we don't get to control WERS. All we do is get to use the WERS database. So I'm sorry, there's not much we can do for you in that regard.
Okay. Andrew is asking, next question, can the updates be limited to maybe one per quarter or one every 2 months? I have draft reports go out, then have a glazing update take place, and fan coming back to the job, the rating has now changed. It's a good question. Right. I'll let Scott answer in a minute, but just basically from a philosophical point of view, James and I talking about product release schedules, we run a 12-week sprint now within the business, and it is our intention that there's maximum of one release go out as a product release through that 12-week window. And in some cases, there may be no release in that. It just will depend on things like NCC, code updates, maybe some bug fixes that must be addressed because they're valued as critical. But we are of the opinion, Andrew, that we will be limiting as best as our ability, one per quarter.
Yeah. As far as the WERS updates are concerned, yes, it might be a little bit painful to have your the statistics on your window change from underneath you with one of those updates. The thing is that when you chose that window is whatever it is. If WERS updates the statistics on it, it's actually reflecting what's really going on. If the statistics were wrong previously and they correct them, then I think that's a good thing. It may be very annoying for you, but it's actually reflecting what the clients will get, or when the homeowners will get when they purchase that home, rather than what theoretically might have been the case 6 months ago.
Okay, moving along, Sabrina says, is the new cladding metal option for corrugated iron cladding? Is there a new cladding metal option for corrugated iron cladding?
I think that's a bit out of my ballpark. All I know is that I added metal. Whether it's corrugated or not, I don't know if that makes a difference. James, can you weigh in on this?
Yeah, so the new one is essentially a timber cladding on battens. So, sorry, a metal cladding on battens on a timber frame. So whether it's corrugated or whatever profile of color bond you choose, the actual material itself has very little R value anyway. They're all virtually non-existent when it comes to R value. So this is just a metal cladding with a batten. So that essentially a corrugated product does actually end up having those air gaps in there. So it's I guess a generic selection for metal and battens, but it would cover corrugated iron.
Cool, thank you. The artist formerly known as Debbie Beauty is in the house, by the way, and she's got a question here, so I will ask this one for her. Replacement glazing and edge insulation feature needs to be located in its own section, not under batch operations, unless these items are only applied to batch operations as opposed to general modeling, which from what Scott is saying is for general modeling. I think that's Debbie making comment more than a question, I think. Does that make sense for everyone?
I'm just reparsing it again myself, Neil. One moment. Oh, I see. I think Debbie's commenting that they seem a little bit of out of place under batching. Yeah, I took a little bit of liberty there in putting it in batching because there is only one item in batch operations, which is batch processing. I was just looking for a place to put those other bulk changes. So yeah, glad to have all of that feedback and good to hear from you, Debbie.
I reckon you should pop up again, the artist formerly known as Debbie Butte. Anyway, one from David here. Is there a way to defer the WERS update to later? It is extremely disruptive to find out that there's a long update has started when in the middle of a assessment. It's a scheduling issue more than anything else, isn't it, Scott?
Yeah, we actually got some feedback from the UAT during this current update, and the thing that that we took away from it is that when we get that dialogue that says, "Do you want to update now?" What we're going to do is we're going to give you an option. You can choose when you want to update. You'll have options. So this is moving forward to 5.3. You'll get options of whether to choose to update it in 15 minutes, an hour, 4 hours, 8 hours, or just not this week. And you can just, if you want, upon making that selection, then you'll be either reminded at a time of your choosing, or you can just say, no, I'm not interested in the update this week. Just bear in mind that if you keep on saying, no, not this week, when you finally do say it, the reason why we're doing it weekly is because we don't want it to take an hour or two to update your WERS glazing. And what we're finding is that if you do leave it for, say, 3 or 4 weeks, you could actually end up with a very long update, particularly if WERS have been particularly busy during that period.
Cool. Sorry, for those people still joining the meeting, there will be a recording available for you, so you can watch back if you've missed a lot of the session today. Carrying on with still a few more questions left to go here. Sabrina says, "I'm loving the WERS direct connection. Thanks. That's a nice piece of feedback to get. Thank you." David's next question: has the issue with the whole eave jumping out of position been addressed?
Yeah, that was caused by this. I've lost my level 1. What would happen is that after level 1 disappeared, as you draw the eave, it's sort of like drawing it into no man's land. So it doesn't have a resolution. And then when you start playing with it, some resolution will be imposed upon it, and it will sort of jump to a different zoom level. you'd end up with the eaves, somewhere off to your right and down. Usually, you would jump to a larger zoom level, and yeah, that one's now gone as along with the other issues involved in not having a level 1 when you really needed it.
Thank you. Joseph says with skylights, when you selected Velux, it would show as a default. When you clicked on the skylight button, has this been fixed as part of the update?
Yeah, I believe so. Again, if this is, we try to address the ones that we're aware of. Now, if we have missed it, then please, after you get the update, contact us and let us know, and we'll definitely make sure it's in the next one. But I'm pretty sure that one has been addressed.
Awesome. Keith says, will the save project button be able to save to an external server? At the moment, we always have to use the save as button, which removes the convenience.
Yeah. I don't think that actually made it into this one. I know that I did look at it a while back, but I'm not sure that we actually got that fixed into this version. It's definitely built into the 5.3, which will be coming up in the next quarter.
Okay, Stephen says, why are we focusing so much on the total glazing system components when we should focus on the actual values U and SHGC? I think only values should be shown in reports and certificates.
Okay, we don't get to control what goes into reports and certificates. That's entirely a NATA's directive. And then that gets implemented by CSIRO, who are the ones that run the HSTAR portal. So we really don't have much control over that at all. But yes, speaking with Debbie when we're going through the build up of WERS, those are the two values that are the most important. The others do play a role, but yeah, essentially once you get the U and SHGC correct, you've got your glazing.
James, any comment on that? I see you nodding your head.
I guess, yeah, it's just to follow on what Scott was saying, that most of that information is out of our control anyway, that goes in the certificate. It's not entirely user friendly for the layperson. So I think, as an assessor, sometimes the best thing to do is to use the additional notes feature to put as much information as you can into, essentially what anyone can pick up and read, because quite often anyone reading those certificates, you might get a building certifier who's questioning the information. Generally, you've got to explain to them that it is just more of a computer printout of what's in the software, as opposed to wording that's probably recognised industry-wide. So it's always handy to use the additional notes feature on your certificate as a fallback or as a fail-safe, just to make sure that makes it easier for everyone at the end of the day.
Cool. Next one. Daryl says these are some really good fixes. I like that. This drove me nuts the other day. Somebody has said, I think related to the eaves. Seems solved now. So people solving things for each other on this chat. I love that, on how to do things. So thank you everyone for doing that. I think, I'm not sure. Have I missed any questions here? Let me just go back and check there quickly.
Just looking, Ali's got one here. Is there an option in the new version where we don't have to individually go and change each internal wall to steel from timber? That's a great suggestion. We do have on our scope that we'll have an option, just like we've got for glazing at the moment, where you can go through and change all instances of one glazing to another. We're planning on doing the same for walls, and maybe even more in the next version.
Okay. Nigel's, sorry, somebody's just added another question. I've lost Nigel. can the new version run on a laptop without boxes disappearing off the bottom? And somebody has responded, hi Nigel, this can be resolved by changing the display settings on your laptop. I'm not sure if that's scale and resolution on your laptop. Nigel,
Yeah,
thank you. Okay,
just
awesome.
if I can just weigh in a little bit there. Almost every laptop you've got that is still capable of running these days has a resolution that is capable of showing you about as much as a regular monitor. But because they're such a small size, Windows introduces this thing called scaling, which basically makes a whole bunch of features that you see on your screen larger. So if you go into right click on your desktop, choose display settings, scroll down, I think it's about halfway down, there'll be a setting that gives you a percentage. It's probably going to say 150, 200, or maybe even 300%. Dial it back a bit until you can see what you need to see. And then click OK, you'll be right. As far as moving forward, when we get the new architecture, we will work very hard on trying to make sure that it fits even in one of those little monitors that you get on laptops.
Okay, carrying on. Ian says, has this session, I think you mean, been recorded as Mr. Stark? Yes, it has. It'll be available on our YouTube channel, Ian. And when we send out the slides, I'll just remind, it's actually in there where you can go to get the recording, but we'll send out a note to you so that you can get to it. Ali's making a few comments about saving time. That's great. Okay, so David says, if a project is opened in 5.2.4, will it open in older versions?
We shouldn't be expecting it to do this sort of thing. If we move forward, then there's a good chance that it won't be backward, or you won't be able to, it'll be backwards compatible, but what you're asking for is forwards compatibility. In other words, to make something compatible with something that is going to be built in the future. Just so happens that 5.2.4 can be opened in 5.2.3 because the format didn't change between those two versions, but that's not something that I would rely on. If there's anything else that we need to save in that document, forward compatibility is probably not going to be maintained.
Okay. Julian asks, can a similar feature to the floor where we can specify an area to outside be added to the roof? Do you understand that, Scott?
Yeah, okay. So yeah, when we put in the split ceilings, we noticed that split ceilings are almost joined at the hip with roofs, which sort of makes sense if you think about it. And yes, we do need to offer a similar sort of thing. Unfortunately, we didn't have time in this release to do anything about that, but that is something that we do have on our radar. We will be doing that in a future version.
David asked another question around the ribbon display. Scott, does the ruler still remain in place in the new version?
I would, does it not in the current version is my question. We haven't had any feedback if it's been bouncing around.
You haven't
So
taken it out of the new version though, right?
yeah, the code hasn't changed in that regard, but yes, I'm unaware of it bouncing around in the current version. So if that is happening, please give us that feedback.
Mm-hmm. Tony's asked a question, I think probably to the group, so I'll ask it anyway. Has anyone experienced basement car park problems? Simulation runs slowly or stalls? James, is that something you've come across? Or if anyone has got a
There
comment?
was a bit of an issue with basement car parks in terms of they wouldn't simulate properly if you don't enter a height or if you don't enter an area. One of them would prompt you to say you must enter this, the other one wouldn't. So you actually have to enter the total area and the height of the basement. If you do that, the simulation will run correctly. We actually had a very similar tech support question recently on that same scenario, and there was no height in no basement height put in there. So that was essentially one issue there.
Debbie's made a comment here actually from previous support tickets. If the area was over a certain size, i.e. too big, it would falter.
Yep. We addressed that in 5.2.4. So now you can have basements much larger.
Awesome. Scott, just check the chat, will you, in case I've missed something, because I have little screen real estate with the slides and stuff. So let me know if there's anything that's been missed. If there are any other questions, please feel free. We've got some time left.
Okay. There was one from Stephen here. Will it be possible to change windows on type? Example, ability to change group A only and group B only in the design if you are assessing, rather than having to change it one by one. Yep, that's exactly that first feature that we I spoke about today. That's what that does. So yeah, if you just go to the hold on, I've forgotten what it's called. I think it's change glazing. I think it's change glazing. You go in there and you can actually swap out based on the type, one for another. So, you know, one scenario, you've got a particular set of glazing. It now, you know, say becomes temporarily unavailable. So still in the BERS system just fine, but you know, you call up Bradnams and sorry, they can't deliver their glazing for the moment. Okay, I need to find another one. So you'll open up that sheet and then go into, you know, select the one that's no longer available. Up will pop a list of glazing. You'll use the U and SHGC values to, I guess, bound and perhaps your other criteria as well, your framing and so forth. And then say what other options you've got, and you'll probably get 2 or 3 other manufacturers at least that'll have a similar sort of glazing. You'll choose one of those, swap that in and move forward, and then you've got a solution for your client.
Cool. Rattling through, David, come back another question on the ribbon, right? So the auto hide ribbon, the ruler remains in the same place, but the ribbon hides.
Yep. Okay. I can see how that might happen. Apologies. I've never actually tried hiding the ribbon. I guess it's one of those blind spots that a developer has. They don't think of doing everything. But yeah, thanks. Now that we know that that will be resolved, I know that that doesn't happen in the new version coming out 5.3 because we've completely changed the way that the modeling area is rendered.
Okay, Ali says, when you import a floor plan into BERS and after you've completed your work and close it down and then reopen BERS again, the floor plan has moved, I think he means. Will this be fixed or is it already being fixed?
Again, that may be associated with deleting that first level. Let me know if it persists after this version update. I know that's probably been solved because we've done some checking down those lines, but I can't guarantee if there is some other way of getting that same thing to happen. But certainly,
sorry to interrupt. I've actually opened a job in the new version this morning, and the floor plan hasn't shifted. I used to find it would shift. You know, it was usually only a 50 or 100 mil, but in this particular instance, I've opened it. It hasn't shifted at all.
Well, that's good. Good to know.
I'm still letting people in, by the way. So those people who've just come in recently, maybe the timing was wrong for you, but there is a recording. So we will post it on our YouTube channel shortly, and you'll be able to see the recording and things. So here's a question from Riley that I think we had multiple times at the roadshow, Scott, and that is, can you model across a horizontal plane rather than just a vertical plane?
Yep, we're not doing that in 5.2.4, but we are going to be doing that in the release coming up next quarter. Now, this is also around the time that we're going to start seeing NCC 2025 being developed. So yeah, the next version that we get probably going to be 5.2.3, and we'll get that in the next quarter. If not, then it'll be probably called version 6 and be released in May. I'm hoping to get it to you earlier though. So watch this space. We may have your solution in a couple of months.
It has just struck me that everyone's coming in from Queensland now, by the way. So maybe our information that we sent out wasn't clear enough on the time change. So I don't think we're going to run through this session back to back, unfortunately, for people just coming. But there will be the recording that we'll make available in a couple of days' time. So very sincere apologies if we've made it difficult for people, but
Yeah.
looks like we've got some more people coming on. We'll carry on with some questions, though, if that's okay for everyone.
Okay.
Can we have BERS Pro store more than one background so it can switch between floor plan, a site plan, electrical plans, etc.?
Oh, okay. That's an interesting idea. I don't see why we couldn't do that. I'm not sure, though, the benefit, because we don't actually do anything along the lines of electrical floor plans. So if we're not interacting with it, I'm not sure what benefit there is to that. Look, if there's a lot of people that want to have that option, then we can certainly add that in. That wouldn't be an issue.
Okay, I don't think we're committing to doing it though, right? But
no, it's a matter of whether we have enough feedback from our users that everyone wants it.
yeah, awesome. Okay, what else have I got here? Scott, so Sabrina, Scott, I thought you said at the roadshow there was a Zoom shortcut, but I have tried all options.
Yeah, and that's not in this version. What does exist in the current software is with that scroller that you've got, you can scroll up and down, and then if you hold the shift key, you can scroll sideways. That's existing in the current version. The control to zoom in and out, that's coming in the version that will be releasing next quarter.
Okay, Pauline is saying there's still an issue with lots of windows with words linked not allowing the file to simulate, finding particularly Trend and AWS windows to be an issue.
All right. Not that we're the people that are responsible for this, but if you send it to us, we can get that information to WERS and CSIRO. We had a few of these earlier on, and I basically collected the information from, about the issues that were going on, sent it off to WERS and CSIRO, and then I was involved in a chain of emails that went on for about a week and a half or 2 weeks, and they resolved it. So if there's any more of those, I'm happy to be your advocate to those two organizations.
I think maybe James can run that up the flagpole. There's a few people coming on the back of that comment saying that AWS a lot with that issue. Okay. Somebody says I'd like to have more backgrounds available in split level projects. With drawings, this can be useful.
Oh, yeah, I could see that would be helpful. Yeah.
Okay. So it's a request more than anything. We may end up doing a reach out to everyone with a survey at some point on some of these items. We will obviously catalog them, and it's really about assimilation into a current roadmap that we've got in 5.3. So that will take us a little bit of time. James is the custodian of that work. And so generally speaking, if things are on a scale of implementation, easy to implement with lots of value, they tend to make it in. If they're hard to implement with small amount of value, maybe to a fewer people, it tends to get pushed further back because we're all about trying to make things as easy as possible for everyone to use. Riley's saying, can we add in a feature to use default number of lights per zone based on the NATA's technical note when the lighting plans are available? We currently have an Excel calculator to do this, but it would be nice if there was a button within BERS to automatically add the number of lights required as per the tech note.
Okay, is this in regards to whole of home or something separate?
Number of lights per zone.
Yeah. Okay. The only place I know of that we're actually worried about lighting is in whole of home. And at the moment, it's just you put in watts per square meter value, which I think defaults to 5. I've just seen the tech notes for NCC 2025 coming up, and it looks like we have latitude to allow you to do that sort of calculation. In fact, it might be a requirement. I'm not quite certain at the moment, but yeah, if that's what you're talking about, you'll probably see it as part of the requirements to 2025.
I think that's probably in relation to it comes under ceiling penetration. So you've got
Oh, right. Yep.
Yeah, so essentially you've got, if there's no lighting plan, then you have to model one downlight per 5 meters squared or part thereof. So there are actually requirements within the technical notes of what you
Okay.
must input if you don't have an electrical or lighting plan. So I imagine that's in relation to that. We also have a Excel spreadsheet that has a maximum wattage per square meter for, class 1A, class 10A outdoor areas as well. So I imagine what the user is asking is that the software goes, okay, we've got 200 square meters, we can now put X amount of downlights in. So I don't know how easy that would be from your side of things, but I think that's the tricky part there will be, determining the 1 light per 5 square meters and then the total wattage. So I think that's something we can look at.
Sure.
I'll put some
Look,
notes.
I don't think it's all that hard, James, but let's take this offline and we'll see what we can do.
David
Oh,
saying, can we default downlights to LED sealed 0 clearance? Does that make sense? Can we default downlights to LED or to LED sealed 0 clearance?
James, you want to weigh in on this? I mean, technically it's possible, but
essentially what that is put in a best case default within the program, which
yeah.
under the NATER system, essentially the whole system is geared the opposite way, which is to worst case. So I mean, I think that'll be. I don't know if that's something that would get the tick of approval from the powers that be, just purely because you're going against the grain.
People are saying that the default downlights is a good idea and would save time.
It's currently defaulted to LED, but it has a 150mm clearance. So in this instance, I guess the assumption there is they're using a downlight that can be covered with insulation. So there is actually quite a few LED downlights that cannot be covered with insulation. So
right.
It does default to LED. It just does not add the 0 clearance.
So can we consider having giving the ability to select a downlight for each zone?
You do. You actually go into
that's
each.
what we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I guess in this instance, what they're after is that the 150mm clearance defaults to 0 straight away.
I think that your point's a great one there, James. We do want to default to worst case scenario so that people choose it, but I don't think that requiring people to choose it time after time after time is helping anyone. Perhaps what we can do is similar to some of the other features we've just put in. We can allow you to change all of your downlights to the same value or something along those lines.
Yep. Yeah, I'll put that down as a note.
Okay, I'm still admitting people into this call, by the way, and I do apologise that if you're coming in from Queensland, I think we advertise this as AEST time, not AEDT time. So we are wrapping up, not getting going, unfortunately. I'm so sorry about that. But the recording will be up on our YouTube channel in a couple of days. So please feel free to go up there, look at the videos that we've created and watch the webinar. So my apologies for that. think that might be the end of the questions, everyone, unless there's a couple of final ones. But just to let everyone know, by the way, that you should have received an email already on this, but the support team, who really do deserve a good break, as I'm sure hopefully some of you will have over this festive season, we will be closed from the 23rd to the 6th of January. Support tickets submitted will be dealt with upon our return. And we wish you happy holidays and happy new year. Just before we go, there is another question from Sabrina. Why is the default in lighting penetration sometimes LED and sometimes halogen? So we've got two default settings by the sounds of things.
Could be when you go in and set up your defaults at the start of a project. I think you can actually choose that. If there is something else going on, then yeah, sure, send us a message and we'll resolve it for our next version.
Okay. There's one final one from Ali here. Maybe James, this is something that you can assist with. I experienced a lot of shading options do not work properly. If I add shading to large windows, my rating goes down drastically. Is there a bug issue or am I doing something wrong? I think that's maybe stepping Ali through that process, James, if you've got a couple of minutes.
Yeah, that'll definitely come down to the type of shading and the data entry. So feel free to send that through as a tech support with some examples, and I'll run it through offline.
Okay, folks. Well, look, we're 8 minutes over. Although the meeting is just starting for some people joining from Queensland. Again, my apologies. But there's another question just come through. Bear with me 1 second. Oh, enjoy your break, everyone. Somebody said, so thanks for that. So I think we're a wrap, if that's the final question. Thank you very much for attending. Please visit the website to download the software. Please go to YouTube. And hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful festive season if I don't speak to you before.
And I just want to add one thing too. It's very important that people move to 5.2.4 to avoid a lot of those bugs that were occurring, especially the level bug. Essentially, really, you should be using the most up-to-date version. NatERS do actually I guess, provide a certain time frame for updates to still be accredited under the system. So it's always good to be using the most current version. So, and some states are still on 4.4 as well, so that's fine. You can use both. But when it comes to the current version, especially the bug fix with the auto delete levels, that's a big one, because if you start a project, you can end up having to restart the project because that bug embeds itself in so many different ways. So yeah, it's really important that you jump onto the current version.
And just a final comment, I'll put my phone number actually in the chat. If anyone wants to reach out and talk to me about anything related to today or BERS Pro in general, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm here for anyone. Okay, folks, thanks very much. And let's wrap it there. I hope you have a good rest of your day. And we are done. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.